We'll get right to action. Our main event will be coming up later. Our first fight is in the ring. A battle of unbeaten Canadians. Toronto's Tyler Asselstine taking on Montreal's Baha Laham. And there is Baha Laham, 31 years old, 5'5", 134 pounds, came in with a record of 10-0-1 with 4 knockouts among those 10 wins. And there is Toronto-based Tyler Asselstine, 12-0 with 7 knockouts, has 4 inches in heights over Baha Laham. Asselstine, 26-year-old. Time to see how the fighters will keep their edge. Brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard.
Well, let's start with Asselstine. Use your height and reach. Jab and move. And for Laham, we'll get in close, attack his body.
Michael Griffin will be the referee. Laham and Asselstine set for 10 rounds.
All right, both you men have received my instructions. Protect yourselves at all times, obey my commands. I want you to touch gloves now, man. You're boxing at the bell. Good luck. Wait your corner. Ring the bell. Box, fellas.
Well, Joe, Laham, as you touched on, the key to this fight, took it on 4 days' notice. Is he in shape? Well, he comes in 3 pounds heavier than his last fight 6 months ago. Not that bad.
Asselstine landing those straight lefts to the body early on.
Watch your head, Tyler.
Good combination from Tyler Asselstine. Went right hook and then the left hand.
Well, we know Asselstine had full time to prepare for this fight. Also, we know that Laham had absolutely no time to prepare for a southpaw, a lefty that's in front of him.
Took the fight on just about a week's notice. Laham had stopped boxing for 4 years and attended law school.
Both you guys got to keep your heads off of your other guy's head, okay?
And then returned to the ring in 2011.
2 billy goats early on. Little head butting, bumping on the inside. We'll see where that leads. All fights for Laham have been in Canada. All but 2 fights for Asselstine
Your head out of there, Baha.
in Canada.
Getting to the Teddy talk early, as we will often do. Open up that Teddy Atlas dictionary. The billy goat, an aggressive fighter who charges forward. You got to watch out for the head coming forward, as you already saw a warning from referee Michael Griffin.
Yeah, you got to watch out for the head if you're Asselstine, but one thing that you don't have to worry about is not having a target in front of you. Laham squares up. Look at those legs. Gets really square in front of you. Gives you a lot of target to find. And he gets himself out of position because those legs are close to each other. They're parallel. Sometimes he'll fall forward, lose his balance. Just lost his balance again.
Watch your head.
See
Don't
that
push
right
him.
foot time and time again come up parallel with the left and making for that target rather than cutting himself in half. And Asselstine has been taking advantage here in round number 1.
Yeah, I'd start looking for an uppercut if I was Asselstine a little bit. Split that guard a little bit of Laham.
Don't push your
And
head.
catch him leaning forward.
Push your head.
Little maneuvering by Asselstine. You always want to be where you want to be in the ring. Ring generalship. Asselstine did a good job of, before he got trapped near the ropes, made that little spin turn, step and turn.
Reminder, you can go to Facebook, the Friday Night Fight page, and click on the live scoring and join us all night long and score along with Teddy Atlas. That was a pretty active first round to open up Friday Night Fights from here in Montreal. Nate Campbell, Kevin Bizier coming up on our main event. I feel like we've read this script before of the up-and-comer from Quebec who's undefeated facing the guy that's, you know, we've seen time and time again.
We have. You're right. The thing I'm thinking about, you're thinking about a script that you read once before, that you saw once before. I'm thinking about being stuck here in this terrible snowstorm. I mean, it's snowing hard out there, and it's snowing really hard in a blizzard back east where our friends and family are. We hope they're all safe there. We could be here for a long time, and that's what I think about this fight. Campbell, Nate Campbell, the former world champion, he's been around for a long time, 13 years to be exact, and he's 40 years old. So to me, that is what this fight is all about. Can he be around for a long time tonight? Hard and strong for 12 rounds. If the answer is yes, he can, then the undefeated local Bizier might be in a blizzard of trouble because he's never been tested in his career before, and he will be tonight.
Round number 2. Got a matchup of a fighter from Montreal and a fighter from Toronto meeting up here, and that's exactly what the NHL will be offering up here at the Bell Center tomorrow. Leafs and Habs. Asselstine putting forth a pretty good work rate.
And right now, Laham putting forth, and no way by saying this comment am I trying to be mean-spirited or derogatory, but Laham putting forth an imitation of a heavy bag so far, just cuffing up, walking forward, and not the hardest target to find for Asselstine so far. But you know what's in the mind of Laham? He wants to break down Asselstine. He hopes that the pressure will do what pressure does to pipe sometimes. Break the man in front of him, wear him down a little bit, make him start thinking about things that he shouldn't be thinking about. The problem with that plan for Laham is 4 days notice. Is he in shape to bring that kind of pressure round after round? Well, he's doing a good job so far.
Boy, I like the way he just turned over that left hook.
And again, if I'm Laham, once I'm inside and close, you got to do work there. You got to go to the body, I would hope. If I was in his corner, if I was the back of him, to try to take those legs away from Asselstine. Asselstine needs those legs to win this fight. Keep an edge on the outside. Do things that Laham can't do. No better way to take the legs away than go downstairs, take some air out of those tires. You got to wonder why Asselstine allows Laham to get close, Joe. Because look at this fight. It's all about geography.
No doubt. 5'5" against 5'9", and Laham's best work on the inside with that left hand.
Exactly, Joe. I mean, Laham has no shot to do anything unless he's allowed to get in close. On the outside, it's only one man who's going to be winning, and that's Asselstine.
As he gets off there, shows you the combination, works with the right jab a bit.
Hey! No punches.
Opening bout of a good night on Friday Night Fights from the Bell Center in Montreal. End of 2, Laham and Asselstine. ESPN Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra, proud sponsor of Friday Night Fights, and as always encourages you to relax responsibly. And in part by Verizon, living history as you make it. That's powerful. VZW.com/innovate. It's the Atrium Ice Rink in downtown Montreal. Home to Teddy's fight plan this week. Teddy, you ever skate?
No, but if you stay tuned and you watch the fight plan, you get a chance to see Saul skating.
Come on.
Just stay tuned.
That's got to be a first.
Or second. Or last.
Exactly. Definitely last. Laham and Asselstine in round number 3. Nate Campbell and Kevin Bizier will be coming your way in the main event.
I warn you right now, though, Saul's version of skating is a little different than yours and probably the fans out there.
There's an uppercut there with the left hand to start things off for Laham. Just missed with the straight right. Now a little bit of range for Asselstine.
The good news is Laham's not really having trouble getting close to his taller, longer opponent. The news that matters, though, the most is how much does he get done when he gets in close. Laham not always getting enough done.
See the outline of the green tree on the trunks of Laham. That's the Lebanese flag. He was born in Beirut. His family moved to Canada in the 80s when their native Lebanon was war-torn.
I don't think that Asselstine is serving himself well by staying inside as much as he is. He's doing okay. He's holding his own. Don't get me wrong. But it's the wrong place to be in a fight like this. Laham can only do something inside. You're giving him his only chance by being inside with him. He has no chance when you take it at a distance. And again, Laham, he's just hoping that the pressure starts to wilt Asselstine a little bit, and then maybe he can nail him with some body shots like he just did. Take away a little bit of that mobility, and then try to nail him some hooks on the inside.
Left uppercut from Asselstine there.
Back his head down. Okay, let's go. Box.
Coming to the end of 3, scheduled for 10, our co-feature on Friday Night Fights from Montreal. Stay with us.
One word, I'm a pit bull. I'm a pit bull, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stay there as if he's a bone. I'm gonna stay there and I'm chewing this bone for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10 rounds.
He's a pressure fighter. I mean, he's just gonna come forward. He's gonna try to walk through my punches, but he's gonna get hurt if he tries to walk through my punches.
So we heard from Baha Laham saying he's a pit bull. He speaks French, English, Arabic, and a little bit of Portuguese because his wife is Portuguese. And you saw in that soundbite, he also speaks the language of pre-fight confident smack talk.
Yeah, he doesn't speak the language of jabs.
No, he does not.
And if he's gonna chew on that bone of Asselstine, I would have recommended to him that he jabbed his way to chewing that bone. Because when you're walking in with a taller guy who doesn't want you to chew on his bones, those people don't want you to, you know, gnaw on their bones. They're gonna pick you up coming in. They're gonna try to do that, tattoo you a little bit on the way in. If you come in behind the jab, you have a better chance of covering your tracks, of not getting hit on the way in. Giving the taller man something to be defensive about instead of doing that. Again, I'll say it. I've got every round, even though they're competitive, I've given every round to Asselstine, but I think he's staying inside too much.
He can make it so much easier on himself.
But you got to deal with that pressure. Sometimes that pressure does do funny things, like we said earlier. It snaps pipes, and with human beings, sometimes it makes them stand still.
Facebook viewer scorecard agrees with you, Teddy. This is often the case. They do a nice job, our fans. You can go to Facebook Friday Night Fight page, click on the live scoring button, And Judge Alon, you can jump in at any time. We open up the voting the minute in between each round and come and go throughout the night. Join in the score.
What advantage Laham can have on the inside? He's the bigger guy, Joe. He's fought between junior lightweight and lightweight his entire career, while Asselstine has been between featherweight and junior lightweight. Bigger, stronger guy is the guy that wants to get inside. But again, he's got to do more when he gets there.
Break! Don't push. Don't push. Come back.
And as I checked with the criterion of scoring, Joe, you don't get points for chewing up birds, just for throwing punches and landing them cleanly.
Don't push your head down. Let's go.
Just missed with that glancing left hand.
Something telling right there, not a punch, but a grab. That tells me that Asselstine starting to get tired, starting to feel this pressure a little bit in his body attack from Laham a little bit. Good news for Laham's corner.
Getting interesting at the end of round 4. We'll take a quick break and be right back to Montreal.
I said a message of confidence was sent to Laham that last round when he saw Asselstine grab him, and right there you can see that confidence. He goes back, high five in the corner. Yeah, he got a little bit of a surge, a little boost there that maybe was starting to get to Asselstine. The pressure starting to work.
And earning his first round on Teddy's scorecard, the Montreal-based 31-year-old Baha Laham, who took this fight on just about a week's notice. So Montreal versus Toronto in our opening bout here on Friday Night Fights live from the Bell Center. Tyler Asselstine, the southpaw prospect, former Canadian national amateur champion, had 120 amateur fights.
I see a turn. I see a little turn in this fight. You know, it's not drastic, but it doesn't have to be drastic. Just a little subtle, little shift. And the shift is towards the side of Laham. Starting to get to Asselstine, starting to wear him down, and starting to stay inside and work a little longer and a little longer.
Oh, he opened up with a left uppercut, and Laham came back with a short left hand. And on the break that time, with Michael Griffin stepping in, there was a punch thrown.
That tide is starting to come in. High tide is coming in by Laham. And Asselstine is starting to look like the kids with those sandcastles. They're moving them back so the tide doesn't swallow them up, knock them over.
There is the tide right in the chest of Asselstine, and now they tie up for a moment as the 5'5" Laham continues to try to get himself to the inside against the 4-inch taller man. A bit of separation as Asselstine put that combination together. Then a wide swinging left hand.
You know, Laham said that he has Asselstine. They know each other. They never boxed before, never sparred, but they know each other. And he said that he has Asselstine as a friend on Facebook. You know, casual friend. Well, right now, Laham not acting very friendly to his Facebook pal.
Bernardo Osuna is with us here in Montreal, and he's standing by in the locker room with Nate Campbell. Bernardo.
Oh, you know, Nate Campbell's been quite busy outside of the ring since winning the world title in 2008 against Juan Diaz. But nonetheless, despite attending pharmaceutical school and also penning his first book, which will be published in the month of March, he still has some unfinished business. He wants to be a world titleist once again.
It's like, for me, I'm like a junkie that's chasing a high. I've never been as high as I was when I won the title. Even after I won it, it wasn't the same. So I'm chasing a high. I have that itch, you know, I got that Ray Charles itch. My leg is always bouncing. I can't watch boxing without thinking I can still do this, man. I mean, I want to win the world title again.
A month away from turning 41 years old, he says his motivation is completely different this time around. He says last time he did it to provide a better life for his family, for his kids. This time, he wants to do it for himself.
Thanks, Bernardo. Chasing that high. Well, that high came back on March 8th, 2008, when he won the lightweight championship belts, toppling the baby bull Juan Diaz. That was down in Cancun, Mexico. Nate Campbell coming up in our main event against 19-0 Kevin Bizier. Round 6 here scheduled for 10. Laham covering up now with his back against the ropes, drawing Asselstine in.
You know, one of the reasons I made a note that one of the things that Laham would have to overcome, besides taking his fight on only 4 days' notice, was the southpaw in front of him that he had no time to prepare for. That could be tricky, different angles, different looks. But some of that trickery was taken away, some of that difficulty taken away by the southpaw Asselstine, because, Joe, when you stand in front of a guy, then it doesn't matter so much that you're a southpaw. You're not using that southpaw style. You're not using that southpaw style. You're not causing problems for the orthodox fighter. Like you said, you're square in front of him. You're just another guy. So Asselstine is negating some of his southpaw advantage in his fight by just standing right in front of Laham, who had no time to get ready for a southpaw. Tell you one thing right now. Asselstine lucky that Laham only had 4 days notice, because he's having enough trouble with him right now. With Laham in this condition, whatever condition that is, with only 4 days notice. There's that grabbing again by Asselstine on the inside with the bigger, stronger, shorter arm fighter that really he doesn't want to be inside with now, but he spent a lot of time allowing Laham to get things done inside. Laham dropped his mouthpiece and put it back into himself, even though it's a rule you're supposed to get it. But he is acting like a pit bull.
But I like the attitude, Ted.
Yeah, he's acting like...
He didn't even want the ref to see. He went down there, picked it up, tried to throw it in his mouth upside down and backwards, just wanted to continue on.
Yeah, you don't need to wash it. Just put it back in there and let me go and go forward and get into the kitchen of this guy called Asselstine and see if I can cause some leaks in the kitchen. You know, I mentioned earlier that Asselstine should look for the uppercut with Laham coming in, but it's a big uppercut. He drops his right hand, and he stands there. And the left hook comes right back from Laham. You're going to throw an uppercut. Don't expose yourself. Don't load up. He loaded up. He had his right hand down a little bit. Well, Laham did the right thing. Right after the uppercut, he blocked most of it, came right back, and he landed the clean shot. Nice left hook by Laham there. I'm wondering now, in a fight where Asselstine took all the early rounds, and where for the last 3 rounds, Laham's been coming on, getting his motor going a little bit. I'm wondering one thing. Are the judges at ringside seeing what we just saw on that replay? Those hard, clean shots on the inside that are being landed by Laham. Because the busier guy, the guy that's been busier as far as punch numbers, has probably been Asselstine. But right now, Laham trying to take over.
Now grappling on the inside, just pushing back, waiting for Michael Griffin to come in. Laham 10-0-1, Asselstine 12-0.
We're one round away from things becoming maybe even more interesting. One round away from getting to the place where, if we go past it, we're in a place where both these fighters have never been before. Both these fighters have been 8 rounds. Laham, 8 rounds 1 time. Asselstine, 8 rounds 2 times. But we get past the next round, they will be going into virgin territory. And you would think the edge, Joe, would be for Asselstine. He had full time to prepare for this fight, but I'm not so sure. It's going to come down to who's got the momentum going, who's got the confidence going, who's getting his way and feels he's getting his way, who feels like he's the boss. In the last few rounds, Laham's been feeling that way.
There's that range of space that Asselstine should have, and then once again they tie up and just drive straight back into the ropes as Laham was grabbing onto that right hand.
Here again, you can see on the inside, the southpaw doesn't really have that lefty advantage. He's right squared up against Laham. It's not complicated.
He was pushing down there. Check in with Bernardo again, this time in the locker room with Kevin Bizier.
You know, Bizier told us that he understands that you only get one chance to make a first impression, and that's why he decided to step up against Nate Campbell tonight on Friday Night Fights. Tonight's Fighter Facts are brought to you by the United States Marine Corps. Kevin Bizier, born in Quebec City, and all 19 of his fights have been in Quebec province, including 16 fights here in Montreal. He's been on undercards of Jean-Pascal Adonis Stevenson and David Lemieux. A strong amateur background, 7-time Canadian national champ, twice at 132 and 5 times at 141. And he's got 10 knockouts in his last 13 bouts, including 7 first-round knockouts, but he's only gone 72 rounds in 19 pro fights. He just became a father on January 20th. He's facing a grandfather in Nate Campbell, but he wants to fight a man with experience, and he's getting that tonight.
Yeah, 40-year-old grandfather Nate Campbell. He's proud to tell you all about his girls and his family. And Kevin Bizier, WBA, has him number 6 at welterweight. Had a good amateur career in Canada, 4 times a national amateur champ, taking a step up against the experienced former belt holder Nate Campbell. That's coming up in our main event. Final 3 rounds here of our co-feature.
Again, Asselstine playing the game of his opponent, fighting on the inside, but getting away with it. Will he continue getting away with it in these late rounds? That's what I want to see. And again, no jab coming in from the shorter, aggressive Laham, so he eats a jab. If he threw his own jab, Joe, coming forward, well, you know, you're supposed to do that. Because you're supposed to give the taller man something to think about, something to make him defensive. In other words, you're supposed to put bugs on his windshield. Make it hard for him to see you coming in.
Hands are free. Stop pushing, fellas.
Bugs on the windshield. These little pesky jabs. Right now,
Don't push him, Tyler. You gotta punch.
line of sight of an oncoming fighter. Another Teddy talk that we will often hear. Halfway through round number 8. Missed with that left uppercut as Laham gets to the inside again, and Griffin has to separate them.
And you see the uppercut more and more as Asselstine sees Laham leaning forward a little bit.
Gotta get that arm off the back. Let's go.
Looks to me like Asselstine. See, we're just about to leave this round now. This is a key moment in the fight, Joe, because we're about to go into the rounds where neither fight, as I said the round before, have been. And to me, it looks like Asselstine is the worse for wear. Going into these last 2 rounds, when we get through this last half minute, he's supposed to be in better shape. He's the one who had full time. Looks to me like Laham is the one ready to go strong these last couple rounds. I'm seeing a lot of tired weariness in the body language of Asselstine.
Neither man has been past this point, and neither man has suffered a loss in their career. Last 2 rounds set to come your way. Stay with us. Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas, Bernardo Osuna here in Montreal at the Bell Center for Friday night fights. 2 weeks from tonight, we got Nate Campbell here in our main event tonight, who fought for a 140-pound title. 2 weeks from tonight, it will be the IBF 140-pound title fight right here on Friday Night Fights. Lamont Peterson in his hometown taking on Kendall Holt as Peterson looks to defend his world title in Washington, D.C. That is February 22nd.
Break. I'm going. I got it.
Oh, like Captain Kirk used to say every night on Star Trek. You watched Star Trek years ago.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan. I mean, I was around, but I never gravitated that way.
I was a big fan. Captain Kirk used to say, going into uncharted territories. Right now, Laham and Asselstine in uncharted territories.
You bring out an F-Troop reference or an I Dream of Jeannie, I'm all over it.
I love that.
You know, F-Troop is great.
Barbara Eden. Tony.
Put your hands.
Roger would always
You really liked I Dream of Jeannie. I can see this. What are we getting to Bewitched next? So we're going to be doing a little...
They used to drive that poor Dr. Bellows crazy.
Hey. I gotta stop pushing this guy.
Right now, Laham trying to drive Asselstine crazy with his pressure. Again, look at the body language. I'm seeing the man with full time to get ready for this fight, Asselstine. Much more ragged looking, but plenty of heart, digging deep, and he's making himself punch. But he looks weary. I think Laham,
Watch your heads.
if he can keep himself free and quit getting pinned and smothered by Asselstine with a little room, he can do a little damage.
No, your hands are free.
Probably needs to do a little damage, a little lead, I think, on my part. For Asselstine. See what you saw a moment ago? Asselstine has not done that enough.
Push-ups.
And he better learn from it if he wins this fight. Or if he loses this fight, either way. He stepped back a little bit, let the shorter guy fall forward. And he didn't make him pay, but he hasn't done that enough. He hasn't had separation enough in this fight to take advantage of the shorter guy reaching in.
Stretches to flurry here against the ropes to close out the 9th round. We will have 1 to go, but first let's listen into the corners. Brought to you by the United States Marine Corps.
It's the last round. And this one is for your brother. This round is... Look at it. You need to give me a... This one is for your brother. This is where you show your heart, you show your ball. It's the last... Take a deep breath. No. Go wing it. You understand? That's stupid, man.
You gotta hustle, man, now. You
gotta stay busy.
It's the last 3 minutes. This is it. You're winning.
We're up one.
Stay busy.
We're up one.
This is it. This is the moment of truth. Stay focused. Spin him. Spin him. Spin him.
By the way, it's Hercules Cavellos in the corner of Baha Laham.
By the way, there's a lot of former Canadian Olympians in both those corners. For Laham, as you said, Hercules Cavellos, 1996 Canadian Olympian, and also the assistant in the corner, Howard Grant, former Canadian Olympian from the 1988 team, and of course in the corner of Asselstine, the man in charge, Chris Johnson, 1992 Olympic bronze medalist for Canada.
You know, that's the one thing I will say about the Canadian fight scene is they take great pride in bringing up the next generation, staying close to home, of keeping their roots. And we've seen that with the Grant brothers here in Montreal, and we've seen that lineage through the years.
Yeah, I would say that's true. And I would also say another country that comes to mind is England. England does a good job with that too. I would take notice of that a little bit since I've done the last few Olympics. And
a lot of these names that have come across your broadcast sheet through all your years of being the Olympic broadcaster. 5-4, Asselstine, according to our viewers who are scoring along on Facebook. Of course, throughout the night, every week, you can go to the Friday Night Fight Facebook page, click on the live scoring.
yeah, I like that scorecard from our viewers. That's not a fair scorecard.
Maybe that's the answer, Teddy. Maybe live scoring of viewers is the answer to solve boxing's problems.
Well, it's got to be better. And I'm not knocking the viewers at home, but in all fairness, and I find the viewers usually to be fair and honest fans and knowledgeable fans. I think they'd have to agree. It can't be worse than what we get with the professional judges too often. And right now, again, I said it the last few rounds, Asselstine, who should be inside, has been inside, holding his own, but he's been smothering a lot. It's not an accident that he's fallen in. He's fallen in on purpose. He's tired, and he figures if he gets real close to Laham, he's going to keep Laham from doing any damage. You know, he's going to keep him crunched up in a phone booth where he can't move his hands. And that's what he's doing for the most part, pushing him back, trying to keep Laham, who likes to go forward, negated. Not a bad strategy the last couple rounds for Asselstine, just to try to get home down to the home stretch. And that's what he's trying to do right now, Asselstine. Just look at him. I mean, when you get a shot out, camera gets a shot out, he's taking deep breaths. I mean, he's just trying to get to the finish line right now. And again, he's, instead of staying on the outside where maybe earlier he would have been better off, he wants to stay real close where Laham has no room. Oh!
Saying no. Little drama right before the final bell. Now both guys came in without a loss. Little Toronto-Montreal rivalry. We'll see how it breaks when we hear from the judges after this. Stay with us. There's the undefeated Quebecois, Kevin Bizier, 19-0. He's going to take his toughest test coming up in our main event against Nate Campbell. That's still to come, but first let's wrap up the co-feature between Baha Laham and Tyler Asselstine. Teddy's scorecard, 97-94 for the taller man from Toronto.
Now, let's not forget now, you made a comment earlier that the people at home voting were doing a pretty good job, and I said, hey, maybe we should use them instead of the judges. I think they did do a good job, but let's find out if the judges did a good job. And don't forget, Laham is from Montreal.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, that means something sometimes.
Oh, you better believe it means something. Both undefeated for now, but let's send it up to ring announcer Christian Gauthier.
Mesdames et messieurs, voici maintenant la décision des juges. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 10 rounds of action, we now go to the judges' scorecards. Le juge Procopio remet une carte de 95-95. Judge Procopio scores this bout 95-95. Le juge Paquette, 96-94. Judge Paquette scores it 96-94. Et le juge Woodburn, 96-95. Judge Woodburn scores it 96-95 for the winner by majority decision. Le gagnant par décision majoritaire, Baha Laham.
Montreal sneaks just past Toronto. You saw the look on Tyler Asselstine's face. First loss of his career,
Well, let's get all those
95-95.
fans. Let's get all those fans back home to register, get their applications out to become judges. You know, maybe that's the answer. Let the fans at home go out to these cities and let them start working as judges. They seem to be doing a pretty good job at home.
Just a difference of 3 points. One had it even, 96-94, 96-95. Baha Laham, short notice, gets the win. Let's send it up to Bernardo.
Thank you very much, Joe. Baha, you had never been beyond 8 rounds. You were tonight. How were you able to come on later on in the fight?
You know, it was an 8, it was 10 rounders, and with a good undefeated guy. I gotta give him credit. I mean, he was fighting his fight, smothering, he's fast hands. He stayed there for the whole 10 rounds, and in the corner, my coach Herc told me those 2 rounds, that's what we were working on for the last month. Give it everything you got, and I tried my best, you know. I mean, it was a bit sluggish, but I got the W.
What was it about him that let you know that you said you were a pit bull and you became a pit bull? What was it about him that let you know that you could do it?
I mean, he's a taller guy, he's a skinnier guy, and I saw from the beginning of the first round, my punches were hurting him to the body. I heard, you know, some screamings and a low key, so I knew that I was gonna hurt him in the later rounds, but still, he gave me a hard time.
There you have it. So Montreal beats Toronto this time around. Joe, Teddy, back to your ringside.
See what happens on the ice here at the Bell Center tomorrow. That'll be the NHL matchup this weekend. Our main event is coming your way. Nate Campbell, Kevin Bizier. 2 different reactions here in our co-feature. We'll talk a little Delvin Rodriguez also when we return to Friday Night Fights.